Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. From fresh produce to tender cuts of meat, Safeway proudly supports Colorado farms and local small businesses. You support local when you shop at Safeway or in the Safeway app.
Here's a number that's going in the right direction. Denver saw nearly half as many homicides last year as it did in 2024. Police say the total is among the lowest the city's seen in decades, even as Denver's population grew significantly during that time. Department leaders credit the decline to a mix of more targeted patrols, stronger investigative work, and smarter use of technology, along with coordinated efforts in neighborhoods that have historically seen higher levels of violent crime. I'm Haley May. Coming up, the Trump administration is freezing $300 million in funding meant for disadvantaged Coloradans.
This is the latest of what seems like a pressure campaign against Colorado.
The possible impact, plus what do the changes to the federal childhood vaccine schedule mean for families in Colorado?
It's the confusion, just that the constant changes and chaos. That's all it does is confuse people.
And having a horse as their mascot has won the Denver Broncos an unexpected set of new fans. It's Wednesday, January 7th. Here's the news in Colorado today. Money that helps Coloradans most in need afford childcare and daily living is being blocked by the Trump administration. The federal government is withholding around $300 million in social services funding from the state, claiming without evidence that it's allowing benefits to be wasted on fraud and ineligible residents. It's the latest headline in a series of stories that Democratic politicians in Colorado have described as evidence the federal government is singling out the state. CPR's Caitlin Kim has been following all of this and joins us now. Caitlin, if this freeze takes effect, how can we expect it to impact the people who would have gotten this funding?
Well, Haley, to put it simply, it puts low-income Coloradans who rely on this funding in a bind. This is money families use to help, afford their childcare while they go to work. It's also what people often think of as quote-unquote welfare, direct cash for the lowest income families to cover the cost of food, housing, utilities, and other things. Plus, it's also money to fund job training and placement programs to help people find financial stability. So you can see how if that money goes away or is frozen for a time, people's lives could be really disrupted.
Now, are we the only state where these funds are being blocked?
No, Colorado is one of 5 Democratic-led states the administration is cutting off this money to. The others are California, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York. The federal government says it's due to concerns that the benefits are going to non-citizens and pointed to examples of investigations in Minnesota and New York, but did not provide any examples in Colorado.
Okay, so even though we aren't the only state that's losing this money for now, it does kind of feel like in the bigger picture, the administration is targeting Colorado with policy changes.
Yeah, this is the latest of what seems like a pressure campaign against Colorado. Just to go quickly through some of the other examples, right before New Year's, President Trump vetoed a Colorado-specific bill that would help financing for a water pipeline in the southeastern part of the state. His administration is dismantling NCAR, a climate and weather facility in Boulder. He denied disaster declarations that would help unlock federal dollars for the Elk and Lee wildfires, as well as flooding around Pagosa Springs. And federal agencies also recently canceled a number of energy and transportation grants to the state, over $700 million in total. So what I've been hearing when I talk to Democratic members of Congress about all of this, they really see it as retaliation for one specific thing: Tina Peters.
As a reminder, Tina Peters is the former Mesa County clerk that's serving a prison term for tampering with her office's election equipment while searching for evidence that the 2020 election was stolen. But Caitlin, why would Trump be doing all of this just for her?
So Trump has been trying to get Peters released from prison. He pardoned all the people prosecuted for the January 6th riot against the U.S. Capitol, but because she was convicted on state charges, she's one supporter he hasn't been able to free. The only person who has the power to do that is Governor Jared Polis. Now, Trump has talked about Peters and posted on social media a lot about her case. For example, in a New Year's Eve post about Peters, Trump wished Polis and the Republican DA that prosecuted her, quote, "only the worst, may they rot in hell." So, bottom line, Democrats in the state believe that all these actions the administration is taking against Colorado are basically a pressure campaign, either to get Polis to pardon her or at least to get her transferred to a federal prison, which Trump would then have the power to let her out of.
You mentioned the president recently vetoed a Colorado water bill. That was sponsored by Representative Lauren Boebert. She's a longtime supporter of his. And as I understand it, it was pretty non-controversial before the veto. Did that also have to do with Tina Peters or something else?
You know, this is something where a couple of issues are coming into play. Look, like I said, Trump is not happy with Colorado over Tina Peters. But we also need to keep in mind, Boebert was one of 4 Republicans who signed a discharge petition to force a vote on releasing the Epstein files. And while she denied she felt pressure from the Trump administration to remove her name from that petition, she was brought to the White House for a meeting in the Situation Room to talk about the files. In her statement after the veto message, she wrote, quote, "I sincerely hope this veto has nothing to do with political retaliation for calling out corruption and demanding accountability," unquote. Now, all that said, this veto isn't entirely out of left field. You know, the Trump administration has been clear about having states and local governments bear more costs of things like disaster recovery, like infrastructure. That was part of the Project 2025 playbook.
Okay, so what happens now with Boebert's bill? Will Congress try to overturn the veto?
We'll find out Thursday because they're going to hold a vote to try to do just that in the House. For people who might not have been following this bill, it passed both the Senate and the House by voice vote, which indicated strong support for the bill. So right now, many expect it will get the 2/3 vote necessary in the House to override the veto, even though that will require a lot of Republicans to directly oppose the president. The big question is, will it clear that 2/3 hurdle in the Senate? That is much less certain.
All right, CPR's Caitlin Kim in Washington. Thank you. You may have seen that the federal government changed the CDC's childhood vaccine schedule this week, reducing the number of recommended vaccinations from 17 down to 11. So what does that mean for kids in Colorado? Well, the state says it's sticking with what the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends, which includes vaccines like hepatitis A and B now missing from the federal list. State epidemiologist Dr. Rachel Herlihy has some reassurance for parents who still want the full schedule for their kids.
These changes will not impact insurance coverage or vaccine availability or access through federal programs.
Now, you're still encouraged to consult with your child's doctor to make the most informed decision about which vaccinations are right for your family, but Dr. Herlihy reminds Coloradans that the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations are evidence-based.
The more voices we have in Colorado and nationally supporting the evidence behind vaccines and questioning some of the decisions that are being made at the federal level that are not based on evidence, the better off we are.
The federal changes are closely aligned to the vaccine practices in Denmark, which has a much smaller population and universal health care. Days after it started burning, parts of an under-construction apartment building in Denver were still on fire. Here's Robert Murphy with the Denver Fire Department at a Tuesday press conference.
Some of this fire we just can't get to. It's covered up, it's hidden by collapse. I can't send firefighters in there because of the danger of more collapse. So we just kind of have hose lines on top, hoping we can kind of get that water in there somehow and put that fire out.
The massive 5-alarm fire Friday night near the town of Glendale made national news due to its size. The incident caused a temporary power outage in the neighborhood, damaged nearby buildings, and resulted in traffic closures. It also sent one firefighter to the hospital with minor injuries, and they've since been released. Officials confirmed 16 trucks were on scene, and an estimated 18 million gallons of water were used to put out the flames. Now, the cause of the fire is still unknown, but multiple teams, including ATF, are on site. They're combing through areas deemed safe for any information that could help the investigation. It's unclear how long the cleanup will take, but officials say the entire building, which was set to open in May, is a loss. The Denver Broncos are preparing for a playoff run, only their second since 2016. Not only are they going in at the top of their conference, but also with a new, unlikely fan base. Devoted followers of the Japanese anime franchise Uma Musume, Pretty Derby. It's a series centered entirely around horse girls. To discuss this odd pairing and explain the nuance of horse girls, we're joined by Denverite's Paolo Zialcita. Paolo, let's talk about the show first. Just give me the cliff notes on Uma Musume.
Okay, well, in the simplest terms possible, it centers around anime girls with the ears, tails, and racing capabilities of horses. They're not like centaurs. Basically, imagine me, but with a tail and horse ears that grow naturally. It started with a mobile video game and has since expanded to become an animated series, a graphic novel, and even a stage play. And it's crazy popular. The game has generated over $2.5 billion in Japan alone, and its recent worldwide release has generated tens of millions more in foreign revenue.
Okay, and the fans of the series are also into the Denver Broncos?
That's right. Uma Musume fans on TikTok and other social medias have adopted the Broncos as their team. The connection is simple. Uma Musume is about horses, and the Broncos are represented by a horse.
Got it. Okay, so what are these crossover fans doing that caught your eye?
Well, there's this growing trend where fans make edits of Broncos highlights with clips of Uma Musume, usually with the franchise's theme music or little clips of the show thrown in. And it's beginning to leak into the real world. I've seen a few videos of fans attending games while dressed in horse girl cosplay. One woman even told me that she started watching Broncos games every week because of the meme. She said it helped her connect more with her football-loving family.
Okay, a nice surprise for them, I'm sure. So what started as kind of a silly thing on TikTok might actually be growing the Broncos fan base.
In a way, and probably a very small way, yeah, it's niche, it's weird, but it's allowing more casual fans to speak the language of football and keep up with a sport and a league that's decently complicated.
Well, it sounds like the Swifties may have some competition. Thanks, Paolo. To see the mashups for yourself or to take a deeper dive into the world of anime horse girls, check out the full article at the link in our show notes. Reporting for today's show came from CPR's John Daly and Andrea Dukakis, along with Denverite's Kiara Damari. If our work helped you get your head around the day's news, consider leaving us a review in your podcast app. It helps more listeners find Colorado Today. And if there's something you want to hear on the pod, email us, coloradotoday@cpr.org. I'm Haley May. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. From fresh produce to tender cuts of meat, Safeway proudly supports Colorado farms and local small businesses. You support local when you shop at Safeway or in the Safeway app.